Hi, welcome to another episode of the Bag Maker Society podcast. Sorry we're a couple of minutes late. We were chatting and got a little bit distracted with time. So thank you for everybody who is joining us live, or if you're watching on replay, thank you so much for watching. I can see Sue and Tracy in the comments saying good evening, so good evening to you. So tonight's episode, we have Maria, who is the Amble Stitcher, and you may recognise her on the posts that I've made and from the thumbnail, but I won't give too much away. So she is a bag maker from Scotland, I believe. I want to say Fife, but I might be wrong, so I'm sure she'll correct me. So without further ado, let's dive in and find out more about Maria's sewing journey. Hi, you okay?
Hi everyone. Yes, I'm fine.
Yeah. We've got Tracy and Sue in the comments saying good evening and
Hello.
hi, and yeah, and
Hi.
I'm getting quite technical now. I can show the comments, and I'm learning how to do all of these things. So thank you so much for giving up your Tuesday evening to chat with us
Not a,
and let us find out a little bit more about your sewing and bag making journey. So do you want to do a little introduction and tell us how you got into bag making and sewing?
um probably easier to tell you how I got into sewing and then into the bag making because the bag making came later.
It
Um,
usually does for a lot of us.
so my mum's side of the family has always sewn, and I didn't really pick it up. I mean, I used to use my mum's scraps. I made a bag once with my mum's scraps when I was like 4 or 5, and fast forward like maybe when I was 26, so it was probably about 10 years ago now, and um, and
Giving your age away there.
she did like a little. She made up lots of little like bean bags to hold your phone, to prop your phones in and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And she sold them, and she asked me to come along with her. She says, I'm gonna make a stall. Do you want to come give me a hand? And I went and I gave her a hand. And there was another girl who was reworking vintage clothes and was selling them.
Right.
And I thought, "Do you know what? Like, my mum's got a sewing machine. I could just ask her to teach me how to do this,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing." And that's really that's where the spark came from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's really what got me into it. So then the next thing was I went to the second-hand shop, bought myself vintage Laura Ashley fabric, um, which I completely ruined, by the way. Oops.
We all do with our first. We all do.
I got her to come down to my house, show me how to use the sewing machine, and the rest was history. Honestly, I just got a real bug for it, and further down the line, eventually, I found myself for a need for a black bag. I just thought I really need to find myself a nice black bag, and I thought I would like a leather one. I can't afford one,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, maybe I could make one. And so I did actually buy little patterns, like just your simple home sew patterns, for sewing bags, and realised that there was like a whole load of a big community for bag makers, and it just sucked me in, because it was all of the lovely canvases, and you've got an array of sip colours, and do you know what's nice about it as well is that you're not having to grapple with lots of fabric when you're dressmaking.
Yes.
You've got lots of fabric going on, but when you're making a bag, you've got everything in your little tray and everything
Yeah.
in your sewing machine, so it's more fun, I think.
Yeah. So do you do more dressmaking than, more bag making than dressmaking? I would say it's 50-50.
I would say it's 50-50 because I would go in stages. Sometimes I would go through a period of making everyone a handbag. So
Mm-hmm.
making my mum and my friends bags, and And then after that, I think, you know, I could really do with something nice to go out with, and then I'll go and sew a dress. So, but
Yeah.
I would say my passion really is bag making, definitely.
Yeah. I think once you sort of go down that road, it's you just like you said, you just kind of get sucked in, don't you?
You do, and then because I wanted a leather bag as well, I was researching and how are leather bags made, you know, and you know how
Mm.
do they finish them, and how do they line them, you know, things like that, and I found that you could actually make really, really, really nice things that you would look at and think that you've bought that out a shop. It's
Yeah.
it's it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Once you kind of get the grips with some of the techniques and what have you, and like the interfacings and the stabilizers, that sort of thing, you're flying, aren't you?
Absolutely.
So, which was the first bag pattern that you ever tackled?
I'm pretty sure it was either a McCall's or Simplicity. It was like a cosmetic bag,
Mm-hmm.
with a clear window at the front. It was a box thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it was nice, and it was well sewn, and I liked it, but I thought it still looks homemade.
We're our own worst critics, though, aren't we?
That's
Like, I think you know I've said on a previous episode, you know, I'll make things and take it and give it to my mum, and the first thing I do is I point out what I'm not happy with, you
yeah.
know, like the mistakes I've made or the things I've had to rectify, or if the stitching's not quite so good. It's the first thing I do is I point it out and I go, it's not, oh, it's not how I'd want it to be because of X, Y, and Z, and nobody else would really notice, would they?
No, not unless you pointed it out. I mean, I made my mum a lunch bag, and I'm pretty sure I've got a photo of it on my grid on Facebook, and I said to her, you know, I really, really, I've made this with so much love for you, but it's just one thing. I said that front pocket, I just couldn't get it to sit straight. It's a little bit squint, and she looked at it, she says, I don't mind. I love it. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. She says, I don't want to use it. She says it's too nice.
Sorry, I was just checking my mic there because Andy, my husband's in the chat. He always checks the sound for
Ah,
me. That's who Grumpy is when he actually has it set that his
ah,
thing is Grumpy, and he's just saying I'm quite quiet. So I was just checking.
or,
My mic was working okay. Maybe I'm just talking quietly. Maybe I don't know. He'll sharp let us know if it's any better or any worse. So, do you have a favourite pattern sort of designer now that if they release a pattern, you can't help yourself but buy it?
um, I quite like Sincerely Jen patterns.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm
And
with you on that one.
my first bag that I tried that looked like a proper bag was a blue cala pattern.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Baronia and bowler bag. And my mum
Yes.
and I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I was like everyone else, starting from ground zero, and I thought I could tackle this bag. Don't ask me how. But the only reason I thought I could do this was because I saw the lady, the designer. She actually had a YouTube video of her doing it on a domestic sewing machine, and that
Right.
encouraged me because I thought,
Mm-hmm.
oh, she's got a domestic sewing machine and she's managing to do this, so it must be possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it can be quite daunting when obviously I've got an industrial, and if I make videos, I usually do use my industrial because just the way the room's set up. But it can make people think that it's only able to be done on an industrial, where a lot of the time a lot of the bags are designed to be made on on domestics as well.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what encouraged me. And because it turned out I loved it that much, I thought I really need to get an industrial.
Of course.
Of
So
course,
did you get one?
I've got two industrials.
I like your style. I love it.
I don't do this.
Why get one when you can have two? My husband is watching this, probably still going, no, no, no more.
I had
Unless one of them's for him.
when I buy, every time I get a package through the door, he's like, "Is that more fabric?"
No, don't know what you're talking about. So Sue's just saying there as well that thinks we're all critical of our own work. She started as a cross stitcher before she started sewing, and she always points out mistakes, but now she looks at them as a unique feature. I think
Yes.
that's a good way to look at it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know, even when you go into shops, and I've been into expensive shops and had a look at the
Mm-hmm.
designer handbags, and you think, do you know what? Like, the techniques that they've used to make this is no different from what I could do at home. All that they're doing
Mm-hmm.
is putting a brand name to it. And to be fair, the quality of the leather isn't probably that better than what I could get anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I'm the same, and I tend to pick things up and um, look, not so much look for the mistakes that they've made,
but look
because
at
you know that,
the
but
it or
look at the,
it together.
yeah.
I do that all the
So
time.
yeah, I'm looking at sort of, that's not as perfect as what you would first think it would be, because it's a designer or it's a brand. They all have imperfections, and our bags and our makes might have little imperfections too. But like Sue says, they're actually unique features. They're not imperfections, they're unique features.
Yeah.
So do you have a particular like type of fabric that you prefer to work in?
Um, I do. And I like to dressmake with this fabric as well. But I love cotton drill,
Mm-hmm.
denim. Um, I hate sewing with really light fabrics. It's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anything that has structure, body, I do like. Anything that you can
Yeah.
make with, I'll buy.
Yeah. Have you discovered waterproof or water resistant canvas?
Yes, I have. And it's okay. I tend to use it for a liner normally
Yeah.
if I waterproof canvas. Not so much for the outside because I like to make my bags quite funky.
Yes.
I like bright colours and pattern. Like, I don't like a regular looking bag, even though I really wanted a black bag and I've got one. Sometimes you do need plain things, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like to go all out there when I make bags. So
Yeah.
to be honest, that's the only thing I don't like about the waterproof canvas is that it doesn't really come in prints. Whilst your cotton, if you get a good quality cotton and you interface it, and you can get a really nice funky lining out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the waterproof and water resistant canvas is getting better. Like the availability of patterns is
Improve.
becoming a little bit wider, but obviously it's nowhere near the realms of what you can get in some of the cotton prints, and yeah. But well, I think they are getting there. They just need to hurry up a little bit more.
Yeah, and I do like to use leather a lot. As I love
Mm-hmm.
leather. The thing about leather and is that you get different stiffness of different, that they could be quite stiff. So I've got lots of leather that I've bought that is really really hard to work with, that I still have sitting there, and I think, what the hell am I going to do with this? Because you could sew it with a sewing machine probably, but you would be better doing it by hand. So it's like going into
Yeah.
leather work, where you're
Mm-hmm.
having to use the tools to hammer in your
Mm-hmm.
holes, and doing like your saddle stitching and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So it does kind of cross over the leather industry a little bit. But yeah, leather I love, and especially if you can line a leather bag.
Yeah. Oh, 2 seconds. My camera's just decided to go off. It does that every now and then. Yeah, I'm with you. I love working in leather. I've got quite a bit that's been sort of like reclaimed from sort of upholsterers and what have you. And some of that is a little bit on the thicker side. So
Yeah.
you've got to be strategic with what you make, and needs to be kind of bigger bags. I think if it's smaller bags and it's quite a structured heavy leather, it can be quite difficult to turn. And
Even
you
even to cut, it's really difficult to cut
mhm.
stiff leather by hand. It's hard work. Like, it really does take its toll on your hands if you do
Yeah,
leather work. If you're not putting it under a machine, it's really hard on your hands, definitely.
yeah,
But it's worth it.
yeah.
It's worth it for the result.
So what's been that the most challenging project that you've ever tackled with making bags?
Um, the most challenging one was the rucksack that I made by Diesel Punk Row, because it was all done stitched by hand, and cutting that leather, honestly, I think it broke my hands. It really did. And the leather was not really appropriate for it because it was so stiff, but I made it.
Mhm.
Do I wear it? No, I think I gave it away, actually. I gave it away to someone. It was really cool. I mean, it looked the part, but it was, when you wore it, it was just rough on your skin,
Mhm.
and I was proud of myself when I did it, though, because
Yeah.
it's a project that is so different from sewing, like, normally.
Mhm.
So that was quite a tough one. But even making that very first bag for my mum, the Boronia bowler bag, that was challenging, because I'd never made one before, and I was doing it
Yeah.
as well. Um, and I couldn't, like, phone my mum and say, "Can you give me a hand? Like, what do I do?" Because the present's for her.
Yeah. Was it a surprise for her as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I tend to sew quite easy things normally.
Yeah.
or
Sometimes it helps to kind of rejuvenate your sojo, or like to sort of bolster your confidence in that as well, doesn't it? When if
Yeah,
you've tackled something really quite difficult, and even if you've managed it and you've got out of your comfort zone, then going to something that you know that you can sew quite easily and straightforward, it just kind of like reaffirms that yes, I can do
yeah,
this.
yeah, because sometimes you need an easy project to do, that
Yeah.
because you're doing it just because you love sewing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if it's easy, it's just making you happy because you're doing something you love. Whereas if it's
Yeah.
something you're challenged with, it's you do become a perfectionist almost, I think, because
Mm-hmm.
you're dissecting every step of the way, and yeah, you're just, every single step of the way, you're always like double checking, right? Is this how it's done?
Mm-hmm.
Or let me just double check that. Am I doing it right? um,
Yeah, I call those sort of, maybe it's not like simple projects, but those projects that you do in between the harder projects, I call them palette cleansers, because they kind of like refresh you and sort of like I say, reaffirm that you can do it, and that you are talented, and you do have the skills, and then
yeah.
you can go back onto something a little bit more
Even
adventurous.
when you make something small, and you intend to give it away, and you give it to someone and they're like, "Did you make that?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, you made that. That's really good. Like, I can't believe you made that. It looks like you bought it out the shop.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it, when people say that? Does your mum still use the bag that you gave her?
Do you know something? She uses the lunch bag still. I made her a bag for her birthday once, which was meant to be an everyday bag. It's like a sling crossbody bag. that
Mm-hmm.
she wanted. I made it in leather. I bought this hair on hide leather.
All
So
right, yes.
and it was black and white, and she loves like the cow print. And I gave it to her, and I think within 3 months she showed me a picture of it, and all the hair of the leather had fallen out.
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh.
I thought, oh, I wasn't expecting for that to happen.
Yeah, I've never actually used it, to be fair. The like the hair on hide. So yeah, that's something to be mindful of.
Where it's constantly rubbing
Yeah.
on her side. It's just like a obviously a friction point, and it's just completely rubbed the hair off. And I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, mental note to myself, I won't do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but at least she, she loved it and was using it so much
She
that
got
that happened.
out of it at least.
Yeah. Yeah. So, where do you find inspiration for the bags that you want to make? Do you see bags and then look for a pattern that's similar, or do you get
Honestly,
sucked in like most of us with the new patterns that come out?
I on Facebook, there's bag making groups, few various of them. They're always people who sew bags are always showcasing what they've made, and
Yeah.
I find a lot of inspiration from what people make because they're using the same materials that you have access to as well, and um, and you kind of it just inspires you to see what other people do, to match things or to just to make some a bag look cohesive and
Mm-hmm.
make something fun or make it an everyday or do you want to I mainly like
Mm-hmm.
bags that are like really out there.
Why
So
not? If you're gonna do it, go
I
big. Yeah.
uh,
I think as well with the Facebook groups, like you can sometimes see a pattern released and think, oh, that's not really like my style or what have you. And then you can see how somebody else has made
it's,
it in maybe the type of fabrics, or they've maybe made a slight change, they've the way they've
yeah,
contrasted the fabrics, and it totally changes it, and you've got to
speaking
have it.
as well, I am one of those people who won't make a bag the standard way the pattern tells you to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
always put my own twist on it. So, for example, if it says, it's got one pocket at the front, I'll say, why one? Let's put one on the back. It's got room to put one on the back as well. Because I
Yeah,
think the more zips and pockets that a bag's got, the better.
the better. Yes, I think a lot of us think that way, unless we're the ones actually sewing the pockets and making all of the pockets. But I think definitely using bags, well, yeah, the more
Um,
pockets and space, the better.
there's another girl that I watch on YouTube called Lauren Mormino, and she
Mm-hmm.
is like, I love everything that she makes. She's just like fantastic. I think like she just became this YouTube sensation, but she does these things where it's like a pattern roundup. So she'll do every once in a while um go through all the new patterns that have been released. I think
Mm-hmm.
she does it every 3 months or something like that,
Yes.
and that shows you it's really good because there's some designers I've never heard of, and
Mm-hmm.
she'll kind of put them to the forefront of your mind. And there was a skull wallet that I didn't know about that it was her that I knew the pattern from. It was her that showcased it, and she says, I haven't made this, but this, and I thought this is really up my street, and I bought
Yeah,
it. And
but you wouldn't have known about it.
if it wasn't for her, yeah.
Yeah. Emma at Studio 77 does a monthly roundup as well.
Oh
So
really?
watch out for that. Yeah, she does.
Oh
So
well.
I think it's the end of each month. All of the ones that she's come across on the Facebook groups and Instagram and all of that. She does a roundup as well. So watch out for that, because there's
Oh
some similar sort of thing where I've like, oh, I've not. even though I'm on Facebook and that all the time, I've not seen that one, and then I see it because, like, say, a little bit like Lauren, she's shown it, and like it's just sort of totally bypassed me, and
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's just I think even just watching her do stuff, because she sews on an industrial scale sometimes, so it's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that I was thinking about selling bags, but I'm not. But but it's good, to pick up tips, to see how she works, and like a lot of the way that she does hers, like zipper pockets, a lot of her stuff I've copied as well, and
Yeah.
I
Do you
quite like.
find that when you've done a pattern that has a technique in it that you like, you do you then use it in other patterns? So like maybe it's the way that they do, I don't know, like their zipper placket, if
Yeah,
it's got a recessed zipper. I always do mine the same way that Erica from Lavender and Twine does
right,
hers. So I always change up the pattern if it's got a recessed zipper and do it the way that I learned. I think it was doing, I can't remember which bag it was actually now. But one of the first ones of hers that I did, and I just loved the way she did her zipper plackets. So now I always do them that way. No matter what the pattern tells me to do, I do it her way.
yeah. I remember watching someone on YouTube. I can't remember who it was now, but they made it was a bowler bag they were making. The inside pocket, instead of cutting two bits of fabric, they did the pocket in the one bit of fabric. So what they did was stitched it on the top, and then they folded it in, and then stitched it at the bottom and then stitched the sides. I just thought, this technique is so amazing that
Yeah.
it's I think, it's so much better, because you've not running the risk that you've got the stitching could come undone, and not that it would. I mean, it's a very
Yeah.
highly anyway, but I thought it's just a different way of doing it, and you've got one less seam. I don't know, to me it seemed more streamlined. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, you do find that certain ways that you sew sips in, or um, even like when you do your bag straps as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of individual for everybody. I find.
Yeah. People have different ways of doing it, don't they? And they all come out amazing, but they might all have a slightly different way of doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Even like when you're
Mm-hmm.
stitching them into the bag, whether if you decide to actually stitch it in or rivet, or yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. So you said about be like the Facebook groups giving like inspiration and that. Do you love being part of sort of like the bag making communities online with the Facebook groups and YouTube, that sort of thing?
I would say at the beginning of my sewing journey, I was heavily relying a lot on Facebook groups and YouTube videos, because um, well, I just wanted to see what other people out there were doing. If they've got access to the exact same things that I've got, and producing these amazing bags, I want to know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I must admit, as times went on, I find that I've become more of a bit of a hermit, to be honest. And I've not, my online presence has not been as much lately. So I've kind of moved away from that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So not so much, I would say, but definitely yes in the beginning, purely, for research purposes, and just seeing what's trending out there, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and networking as well with other people, because you
Yeah.
want to your soul tribe. You know what I mean? Your
Mm-hmm. I
other
do.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. And like it can be so inspirational as well, can't it, to see people make something, and then sort of you then be able to make it because you've been inspired by them, and you didn't maybe think that you were capable of making it, but because like say tutorials, that sort of thing, you know, like Lauren on YouTube. I always remember doing watching one of her, I think it was for the Tribbiani Traveller, which I mean, it's one of my personal favourites. Anybody who follows me knows that. Like, I absolutely love that pattern. And then she did the um like the overlay, because she did sort of like a Halloweeny sort of
Oh, cool.
so it looked like it was like bright green. It looked like slime across the
Oh,
top. It was so cool.
like
And I was
the
like,
effect, yeah.
yeah, and I wanted to put an accent on the bag that I was making in a different way. But I was like, but if she's managed to do that, then of course I can manage to do the
Yeah.
accent the way, and of course it'll work, it'll be fine. And it did, it worked out beautifully.
I think it's just about finding that thing that inspires you, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
It's
That
finding your tribe, isn't it?
it is, you know, because I mean, I could talk to the average Joe about sewing, but I'm, it's not the same as having someone that likes to sew. Even, I mean, someone that likes to sew, yes, but I really haven't found anybody that likes to sew bags as much as I do, like in person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never met someone. I've never been able to be like, oh my god, like.
Well, luckily for me, I run socials not far from where I live, and it's predominantly people who make bags who go. Although,
Oh,
you know, people sew all sorts there, um, but yeah, there's a lot of conversation goes on about this pattern, this way of doing it, that way of doing it, and lots of help. And it's lovely to be physically in the same room as
yeah, because
people who love it as much
you're
as
buzzing.
what obviously we do.
You get so excited.
We don't tend to do a lot of sewing, though, to be fair, because it's more talking about sewing or drinking cups of tea and eating cake, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many conversations going on about, you know, different things and what you do and what you doing, and yeah, and then we'll go back and we'll be like, didn't actually sew that much. I did manage to sew an entire bag at the last social that we did, and everybody was like, wow, how have
But
you managed to do that? I was like, because I didn't really talk to people.
yeah, I
Just on
think
a mission.
socials that it's social. I mean, the names there.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. I mean, sewing is such a lonely activity, and it
Mm-hmm.
can be that when if you are going to get together with a group to do about sewing, then you're just I think you're not gonna sit in silence and sew, you know, with these
No,
people.
no.
You speak about what you love, and yeah, you will talk about what patterns are out there, inspiration, what colours, what fabrics, you know, like what movie, you know, what, like I actually made a bag with it. This was a few years ago. I made a Beetlejuice bag actually. I
Wow.
thought, and I realised a couple of weeks ago that they're making a Beetlejuice too, and I'm like, I'm so
They
excited.
are. We were literally just talking about that. Me and my husband, I think it was yesterday or the day before.
Have you made a
Um, no, but
bag?
we're talking about the new Beetlejuice coming out, so I could see lots of Beetlejuice bags in the groups
Oh,
in the coming months as people are inspired
I
by
should
that.
bag out, and I don't think I've got that bag on my grid. I don't think I should get it out.
Oh, you'll have to put it on, yeah. Because I was having like a little look at your Instagram, and Arlene there's just saying about your name on social media. So, but I have got a link in the description box to your Instagram. So if people want to go and check out your Instagram, they can. Um, so my husband is saying they don't sit in silence, that's for sure, but it's all good fun for the brief time that he spends in the room. So yeah, he gets roped in a lot into helping set up at the socials and then helping pack away,
Good
and
though. I quite like
yeah.
he gets involved as well. I think that's
Well, he's been in the sewing room sewing quite a bit lately.
was as well magic.
Mhm.
That's
So
absolutely.
I was at the Festival of Quilts over the weekend, and I'm getting pictures and um actually in the Festival of Quilts, me and Emma FaceTiming him, showing him how to rethread the machine because he needed to rethread it. So yeah, and I'm getting pictures of him sewing in my sewing room with my sewing machines, and I was like, don't be getting too comfortable. I need I need my space back, but no, it's lovely. It's nice that he gets involved, but yeah, he does get roped in at the socials quite a bit of yeah, like doing this and doing that.
You're saying to him, now you just remember, this is my space, my room.
Yeah, well, he's using the sewing machine actually that I don't really like. I'm not
Ah,
going to say which one it is because like that's it's just my opinion.
yeah.
But yeah, I've got a sewing machine that I'm not particularly keen on. I think 'cause I'm so used to the industrials now, and it's a
Ah,
domestic, and I think going back to it, like I really struggle, and I don't like the reverse button, and oh yeah, I'm like I get really
yeah.
stressed out if I'm sewing on it.
I will say this, that when you get an industrial, you do become uh, you're very spoiled. When you get an
Mm-hmm.
industrial, you realise, with your knee lift, even just having a knee lift,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Or
and
being able to press the foot to lift your needle.
yeah, I mean, it's so much easier than, fighting with the layers, making sure that the layers are in place before. Yeah, yeah, it's just, I
Yeah,
mean,
he did have a little go on the industry, and he was like, "Well, I don't like it," and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine.
because
You keep that one."
it's scary when you first get on an industrial because they're so fast. They're
Mm-hmm.
so scary. And I
Even
remember
at the lowest speed,
even at
it
the
can
low
be really fast. Yeah.
when I got my industrial, the engineer, like I pressed it and the fabric just went away from me, and I said, "Whoa." I says, "This is too fast. Can you slow it down?" He says, "Yeah, yeah." And he said, "I'll slow it right." I says, "No, no, you'll have to slow it right down." And he looked at me like, "I'll just do it halfway." It's fine.
So, which industrials have you got?
I've got Jack's. I've got Jack's industrial machines. But
Yeah.
they're copies of like big make machines like Dukey's.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the inner workings of them are all the exact same.
Yeah. Well, I'm the
And
same. I've got a Jack. Mine's a H2. I've got the walking foot.
yeah,
Um.
I've got the 2060G, which is it's a walking. See the thing about walking foots, right? Because there's a difference. There's two types of walking foots. I believe there's a
Mm-hmm.
walking foot that is literally just the walking foot that pulls the fabric like that. And then there's a walking foot that actually sinks the needle in. And when the needle's sunk in, it actually pushes your fabric back with the foot at the same time. So you're
Right.
going like this.
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's the third the one that does that. I'm terrible for names. I'm pretty sure it does have a name, but I don't know what it's called. But there is two types of industrial
Yes.
foots, and it's the one that sinks the needle and pushes it back at the same time as the feet's doing it.
Yeah, I've heard that described, and like you say, I think there is a name for that type of walking foot. I don't know whether it's. I don't think it's a compound because I think that's where they
Oh,
move separately,
do you,
or
I
it might be.
I think you're maybe right. It could be a compound walking foot sewing machine. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. But Arlene's just saying that they are very fast indeed. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean mine. I don't have mine above 400, 450 because obviously mine's like the electronic one, and you
yeah.
can adjust the speed.
Hmm.
Um, and even though I use it all the time, I still don't have it set that fast because I think especially as bag makers, most of our seams are quite small anyway,
Well,
so
I was just
you
about to
know,
say the only thing I think that I would really go full pelt on the pedal would be if I'm doing a strap because you're literally just doing a straight line.
yes,
But even then,
Mhm.
you have to be careful because you can go wonky.
Well,
But
I tend to keep mine slower because so I can keep my stitches sort of straight and in
yeah,
line, because otherwise it'd be like that. Andy's probably going to comment on my driving anytime soon, saying, "Yeah, yeah, you need to slow it down to keep it straight and in line."
well, I learned how to drive last year, so I can't comment.
Oh, did you?
Even when I did the B, I still wasn't driving. I still wasn't.
Were you not? So
No,
were you
no.
having to travel down by train each day, each weekend? Because it's filmed over a weekend, isn't it?
Well, it's filmed in bursts of three days at a time. So
Right.
it could be the weekend. It could have been through the week. It depends where it landed. But I had to get my partner to drive me. I remember finishing work I finished work at 8 o'clock in the evening, got into the car. He drove down all the way to Pudsey in England. We didn't get there till about 1:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And then we started filming at, well, we had to be in on the bus at 7, ready and everything
Wow.
for going into the
Yeah,
studio.
because
Get let go.
it was in Leeds, wasn't it? That because it was a couple of years ago it moved to Leeds, didn't it?
That's right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
because it's not far actually from where my daughter lives. My daughter's in uni in Leeds,
ah,
and I only discovered a little while ago that the mill isn't very far from where
ah,
she is. But each time I've planned a visit, when I've gone on and looked, it's been closed.
ah.
I've been like, no, I want to go.
So it really is a lovely, lovely place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a part of England I've never been to before. So it was yeah,
Yeah, because quite a journey for you, isn't it? Because was I right that it's Fife, isn't it? That
yeah,
you're from that area.
yeah. You're
So
right.
that's quite a. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
only sort of an hour and a half away.
yeah. I mean, we were. I mean, literally, we were on the road all that time. We never got in till like 1:30 in the morning, and that was us from driving from 8 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
So it was a long drive, and I remember. I'm pretty sure that was the week filming that I started filming the third week, or was going to go and film the third week that time, and that was the time that I went out. But that was because I felt like it was just like it was a lot, you know. I thought this is
Mm-hmm.
taking a lot out of me, you know, having all this travel and because I'm having to go back up to Scotland to work as well, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in
And you
between.
work in the NHS, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really getting a break, and that was, you know, that was 3 weeks solid, and I thought, "Ah, this is not really sustainable for another. What is it like? 10 is eight
10 weeks, I think, in
eight.
total, isn't it? That the film. Oh, there's my camera again. Sorry. Every now and then it just has enough of me and goes, no, I'm switching off, and I've got to reset it. But yeah, I mean, that actually leads me perfectly on to another question that I do always like to ask people is how do you balance? Obviously, you've got quite a demanding job, and it's, especially when you were doing the sewing bee, you were coming out of a time when it was even more demanding. How do you balance your sort of hobby because it's all consuming, or do you find that it's a real de-stressor and it really helps you to step away from that?
Yeah, it is a real de-stressor. But like I says, because I'm at the moment I'm in an energy of like I've not really been in my sewing room for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, it goes in stages. So before, when I was quite prolific, I would say that I was doing it every single moment, every spare moment that I had. You know, I was going up there
Mm-hmm.
and I was making things, and you know, I would even have dreams about what I was sewing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was that passionate about it, you know, that I would
Yeah.
have dreams about me being in that room sewing. And I would say that I handled it. It was a de-stressor. You know, I would go to work, I would come home, I would sew, and I would forget about it. But now, I mean, I would like to say everything's perfect. How do you manage? But I mean, I don't sometimes, I mean, I've not been there for a couple of weeks. I've been working. I've been trying to. I've lost weight as well, so I've been trying to, keep healthy and go to the gym. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to recognise that you can't do everything. And I feel like I generally feel sewing is my superpower, and
Mhm.
it's there. My room's there. I will get back to it. That's how I feel. I will find my passion for it again. I do have a spark for it still. Like, it's not going away.
Mhm.
So my sewing room's there to stay, and I'm not downsizing it. But at the moment,
No.
I'm finding that I've had to take a step back, because I've had to focus on other things, and like
Mhm.
my health. My partner, he wasn't well, not that long ago either. So I've had a few things going on, and in a perfect world, I would like to say to you that, is I've been managing to balance everything fine, but the reality is that,
You
like,
can't, can you? Like and you sit, like you said, you have to prioritize things sometimes, don't you? And
yeah,
sort of especially like with things like health, your health and your partner's health and what have you. You've got to kind of just, like, say it's going to be there. And I think sometimes when you force yourself into doing something because you do love it, and you're like, well, I don't want to lose my love for it, and you force yourself into doing something, it can have the opposite effect. So just
yeah,
having it there when you want it and when
yeah,
you
precise.
feel drawn to it's probably the best thing.
Because I find, even like after the sewing be aired, and like people were asking me, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's just like, no.
Can you hem these pants? Absolutely not.
I remember someone asking me, it was a work colleague, and she was like, would you mind taking, and I looked and I thought, I'm like, what is wrong with taking them to the seamstress? There's one at the bus station. Like, you know, I just think, you know, my passion is sewing, but my passion is not mending other people's clothes or.
Yeah. Or
Uh,
altering. I'm not a one for altering. I don't like it. I can do it in a fashion, but I don't enjoy doing it.
I tell you what I did do. I did do this. My boss asked me if she could give me a pair of curtains that she'd bought that were too long. And that way when you're like, it's my boss. But
Can't
I
say
mean,
no.
I don't really want to hem the curtains, but at the same time, I don't really want to like disappoint her and say no.
Yeah.
And because she was my boss, I thought, well, I tell you, I had these curtains well, she gave me them in October, and it was February that I gave her them back.
Was that just that she didn't ask you again? That's what
uh,
I would do.
well, actually, it was a bit of both, but I actually, come January, I said to her, "Do you know, I've still got your curtains, I've not touched them. I'm like, I am so sorry that it's taken me so long." And she says, "Yeah, don't worry. It's not a bother," she says, "because my room's actually getting painted and decorated just now, so I don't need curtains yet."
Did they need quite a bit cutting off though? Did you manage to salvage anything for bag linings or for making bags with?
Because it only needed 20 centimetres off them. And
Mm,
I think, if anything, I only took about 10 centimetres off. So it wasn't
mm-hmm.
really worth keeping.
Or if it was really nice fabric, should have gotten them back halfway up the window so that I could have utilised the fabric for bags.
Yeah, I'm just, nah. This fabric didn't speak to me anyway.
Oh, did it not?
No.
Yeah. That can be like, as I say, I think when people ask you to make things, like I don't like making bags for people when they request them. I love making bags for people, but I like making the bags I want to make for
Yeah,
people. Do you know, like, so if somebody says, "Oh, can you make this and can you do this and can you do that," and then the anxiety just gets really quite a lot, and then I worry about whether they're going to like it, whether it's going to be okay, and So I much prefer just to make what I want to make and then gift it, rather than having sort of like
Yeah, I
an
know.
agenda of so to speak.
If someone gives you a spec and tells you, can you make me a bag from this spec, then there's an expectation there that you have
Yes.
to meet, that, you know, you're thinking to yourself, even though they've requested all of this, what if they don't like it? Because it does happen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about it happening all the time, that people who sell bags, you know, that it is true that they take like a certain percentage up front for the materials, and you know, and you have to look after yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because people that will take advantage of that, or they'll try and say, oh, you know, I don't think you did this bit too well, or you know, they'll start nitpicking faults,
Yeah.
and um, and just chuck it back in your face.
And it sort of, it takes away that joy of making, doesn't it, when you're making something that isn't like you were saying about that material not speaking to you.
I
Well,
think
if something doesn't speak to you, it can be
it's
quite a
so
hard thing to do.
fun just to turn around and say, yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It is. It can be disheartening.
Yeah,
And
I'm getting much better at just saying like no, like I'll get inboxes. Can you do this? And I'm like no, and I just always refer them to somebody. Usually there's a place up the road, and I go no, try here. They they can take up your pants and they can
yeah,
take in your waistband and stuff like that.
I,
Um,
I have
but it can
taken
be hard.
before. I made a bag for my friend's mum, and it was my friend that said to me, actually, my mum's really needing it's. She just says like this: it's one of those bags that goes over your body like that. That's the one she wants. She says. I was like, oh, a crossbody. I says, I know which pattern. I says,
Yeah,
problem. But I mean, there wasn't that much expectation there where she says it needs to have this. You know, when you start getting into specifics, that's when you
yeah,
panic. I can see
and
why.
add this and add that and add the other, and yeah,
Yeah, because you're
yeah.
then you're getting the sense that your customers, who likes demanding customers, right?
Well, I'm one, so why
Well,
haven't you got this fabric, and this fabric?
oh, I try not to be
No,
demanding.
I try not to be too,
I
but
like, but I try not be so demanding, and I certainly wouldn't pick faults. And you know, I
no.
know that if I walked into a shop and saw the exact, and it's happened before when I've actually walked into a shop and thought, oh my god, there's that blue cala pattern, and it's, you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
sitting in a shop all made up, and you think, and you look at it and you think, what was I saying? You know, that it's, you look at it and you think, it's, I could do a better job than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm terrible for like looking at bags, and like I'll try and get like sort of slide pictures. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
I love that, and I love that
yeah.
style, and I'll try and get a slide picture so that I can go away and have a look for a pattern that's similar.
If it's in the shop, I've got no qualms about taking pictures of bags that are sitting on a shelf in the shop.
Yeah,
But
oh
if I
yeah,
someone wearing a bag that I really find interesting, that I like, I would ask them permission. I would definitely ask them
yeah, yeah.
because it looks a bit odd if you randomly take your phone.
Just randomly taking pictures of strangers in the street. I usually just run up to them and start talking to them about their bag, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
I,
where
I,
did you get it? And can I have a look at it? And
I've done that before where someone's been wearing something that I've really liked, and I said, no, I really, really like what you're wearing. I like to sew, and I like to design. That's the way they get it, you know. That's my thing.
yeah,
Like what you're wearing. Do you
I
mind?
I find out I look at people's clothes, especially sort of like jackets and outerwear, and the pattern, the print, and what have you. And I'll be like, oh, that would make a lovely bag. And I want to dissect the jacket or whatever it is and make it into a bag, because I just like I love the fabric. There was one sort of somewhere, and it was sort of like a tweed type material. It was like a fella's jacket, but it had piping and stuff on it. The jacket was amazing, but I was like, oh, that would make an absolutely fantastic bag. That was the first thing that came into my head.
You do. You do. and you start looking at unconventional materials as well, thinking, I could so make a bag out of this. You know, if I could just
Yeah.
and pleat it together and do this and that, I could fly it over my shoulder.
So have you ever had a go at sort of designing your own bags, or do you work from patterns all of the time?
Yeah, I've had a go. I've had a go. Um, I don't have any formal training in bag designing, but I do play about with simple shapes mainly,
Mm-hmm.
from squares. Um, I did make my own pattern, for a crossbody bag, that I made it, that I was really actually quite proud of. Um, so yeah, I mean, I find that the more you sew using patterns, the more you become confident enough to tackle
Yeah.
in your own, or even changing an aspect. I think that's how you start, really changing an aspect of a pattern,
Yeah.
you know, to suit you, or your wants better for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you do that, and if it works, then you might progress on to making your own bags, you know, and making your own
Mm-hmm.
patterns. And really the way I did it was cardstock. So I would, draw out the cards that I would have in my head, and I would like picture it in color, like with the fabrics that you want to use and things like that. And I would write down all the measurements, cut everything out, and then I would actually tape it. I would start building like a 3D sort of model of it with the,
Yes.
just to see as a rough estimate
Mm-hmm.
to see if it would work, if your seams match up and things like that. So I have done. Yeah,
Good.
but
I'm
most,
I'm a bit more of a pattern hacker than a like
you know,
I've never sort of like designed other than something very very basic. But yeah, I'll sort of start with a bag pattern and then change it so much that it's like by the time I'm like, well, it started as this, but it's ended as this because I'll change things all the time. Sue's saying that she was on a cruise last year and a lady came up to her and asked about a bag, asked if it was the Spencer Og pattern. So obviously she must have been a fellow bag maker and they had a good chat about sewing bags. That sounds
that's
like my perfect cruise.
that's amazing. Eh? What's the chances of that you're going to find someone on a cruise that's
Yeah.
and recognizing the pattern, not just saying
Mm-hmm.
hey, it's a nice bag. It's, I know that pattern. That's amazing.
I actually once was in Sunderland Hospital with an appointment for with my father-in-law. He was in getting like a scan or something like that. So I was sitting outside waiting for him, and a woman started talking to me about my bag, and yeah, so she did a little bit of sewing, so she'd seen bits and pieces and that. So yeah, so Brian comes trotting out. He was like, "My God, you will talk to anybody, won't you?" And I'm like, "Yep, pretty much, especially when it's about sewing and it's about bags."
Yeah, I mean, she's got
I
you.
thought it was really random.
It is.
Yeah. So no, obviously you said that you've had like a little bit of a break from sewing, but have you got anything that you kind of want to make in the future that you think might get you back into your sewing room?
I desperately need to make myself a new work bag. Desperately.
Have you
Um,
got any in mind?
I do, and you're gonna laugh at me actually, but it's actually a paper pattern. I'm pretty sure it's a simplicity backpack pattern that has
Mm-hmm.
a Yoda this is why I bought it, because it's got a Mandalorian, um sort of
Right.
ears on it, and I fell in love with it, and I thought, you know, the bag's really basic. I could probably like use any pattern, but for
Mm-hmm.
the sake of the Mandalorian, I thought I have to get it. So that's the bag that I plan to make.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
I don't know. I mean,
Mm.
um, I am desperate for the bag, but I've got a few things to do first before. I've got something on my sewing table, which is a dress. It's a summer dress, and I need to hurry up because
Yeah,
hurry up.
especially the further north we go. Like the shorter the summer is. So we don't get much of a one here. So obviously you're further north, so
And
your summers are shorter still.
uh,
No,
uh,
I went out to drop the post off earlier on. I was like, my God, what's that in the sky? It is the
is it
sun. Wow.
sun
I thought
season?
I might get sunburn.
That's the only time it seems to want to come out, and you're like, oh yeah, there it is. Bye.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't last very long. So, so it's been really lovely chatting to you, and obviously like watched the Zombie and everything. Like, well, I watch the Zombie all the time, but obviously last year when obviously it was announced who was going to be in, and your write up said that you were a bag maker, and I was like, oh my God, because it's not often you see somebody who does primarily make bags
Yeah,
in that program. It does tend to be people who are dressmaking, so it was so good to sort of see
yeah.
our community push forward a little bit.
I think it's brilliant. Do you know? See the year that they added shoemaking. How great was that?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it's something out there. It's different.
Yeah,
It's not
I've
just.
got some souls winging their way to me as we speak. Actually, I've got some on order.
Oh, really? You do?
Yeah.
I I would like to make my own sneakers,
Mm-hmm.
but but I don't know. It looks really, really daunting, doesn't it? Like,
I don't think
and
it's as hard as what it looks.
oh well,
Particularly with your skills. Yeah, you'll do it. Do you follow Adam Saws on Instagram?
I do.
Yeah. So and obviously on YouTube. He's made some in Tula Pink cottons. Oh my word, they are amazing. Um
Yeah, I need to get on this bandwagon because I could maybe make a Beetlejuice themed pair of trainers. Now that would
yes, to totally match in with your bag, and that would be perfectly timed for when it comes out of the pictures. You can go and see it with your bag, with your Beetlejuice shoes.
I could just go.
Um, Andy's just saying, train us so off, let's go.
What's that? What's that? I didn't catch that.
My husband, like Andy, but he's grumpy. Train us so off, let's go.
Ah,
So I don't know whether he's meaning me and you or me and him, but we'll go with me and you because he doesn't need any more
we can
encouragement at the
do
moment.
it. Let's all join in. I'd be up for it.
Yeah, we can all do it. We'll let everybody join in. But there has been some, if you like sort of like look it up on Instagram, especially with Adam doing his, there have been some really, really fabulous ones. And I'm sure it's the sneaker kits website. They actually have the patterns that you can go and download. I'll put a link in the
I
description
did
after
not know that.
everything's uploaded.
Oh,
I'll put a link in the description then if anybody's watching this back,
I
or
feel,
if you want to go on and have a look.
I feel just a little tiny spark there.
I'm a really bad influence. I'm so sorry. Like, don't ever go fabric shopping or anything with me because if you're trying to be good, I will totally talk you into buying the fabric. Yeah, I'm a very, very bad influence.
Oh,
But
you're not.
yeah, that's my next thing is I want to make myself a pair of trainers. So I've got
I
some
think
soles
it's sort of
being
the next
sent.
step up from bag making, isn't it? Making your own
Mm-hmm.
shoes.
Yeah. I mean, I can totally see me going down an absolute rabbit hole and wanting to make my own high heels and boots. And I can totally see it being an absolute rabbit hole.
I mean, I could probably make the high heels. Whether if I would wear them is a different story.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't say I could walk in them. I mean, basically since 2020, I've lived in slippers. So, yeah. You'll have those comfy shoes and that as well, do you, at work? Like the Croc style. Do you wear
Yeah,
them?
I just work in a pair of Air Max trainers because
Mm-hmm.
I used to wear Crocs, but they make your feet sweat so much, and they're not good
Yeah.
feet to wear all the time. People just
Yeah, I don't think that they're as supportive as kind of what
yeah,
what
they're,
you kind of need doing your job.
yeah, they don't support your arches, and seemingly because they make your feet sweat, it's not good for you anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I don't need anything that makes my feet any smellier than what they already are. So, but nice new trainers would be lovely.
But yeah,
So,
it was really, really nice talking to you as well.
yes, I've really enjoyed it. Like I said, like obviously last year when you were on the Sew and Bake, it was so fantastic to see somebody who isn't primarily a dressmaker, who does do a lot of bags as well, and seeing those skills in some of the other challenges, like you could really sort of see where like your skills came into their own, and especially in some of the like the repurposing challenges and stuff like that, where you kind of like you were used to kind of dealing with things that aren't as straightforward as
Yeah, that
sewing up two pieces of cotton.
what was that material? The windbreaker material. Oh,
Mm.
honestly, every single one of us bees has been traumatized with those.
Never want to see that material again. I can totally get it.
Never
But
ever.
no.
Honestly, it was just like it was so weird to put under the machine. It was I really
Mhm.
was odd. Like I thought, unconventional material. It, it's just
Yeah.
it was very, very, very strange.
That's why I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be able to go on anyway because my business is sewing. But when I used to get tagged all the time, people saying, "Oh, go on." I'm like, absolutely not, because it's the transformation challenge that will put me off because I've got
Well,
no imagination
we
where things
the
like
bag,
that are concerned.
the bag challenge that we did. I think originally we were to get either 3 or 3.5 hours. It was something like that for making this bag. And I remember with 20 minutes to go, and they said, "We're going to give you an extra 15 minutes." And then that 15-minute passed. And all of us, it was a particular instruction on the booklet that we were all struggling
Mm-hmm.
with. And do you know what it was? It was making those ruddy triangle bits that anchor strap at the bottom.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's what was like really like confusing everybody. And none of us, no one had a finished bag. Like we were so far away from finished. So they were like, well, add another 50. In the end, I think we got like an extra half an hour to
Yeah.
do these bags. But that's what they don't tell you on the program
No.
is that
No. I mean, I'd love to be a flag on the wall when it's being filmed and what have you, because yeah, I think obviously the editing and everything's very good, and it probably shows things in a different. I mean, I mainly just couldn't go on it because I swear too much when I'm sewing,
oh, but
so
that
it
out.
would be beep 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 beep, so just wouldn't be able to edit a sentence together because I swear so much when I'm sewing. So, so
Oh,
I've
believe
always said
me,
I take my hat off to anybody who does
I
it.
swore plenty. Honestly, I've got a dirty mouth as well, and
Yeah.
honestly, my mouth was running away from me. Like even when I was doing I find it so funny the Wimbledon worthy dress when I was finishing that thing at the end, and I was like all flustered, and I was like, I'm not gonna get this finished, and then all of a sudden it was like, I managed it, I finished it, but the sweat
Woohoo.
that went on, and those
Yeah.
last 3 minutes, it was.
Yeah, it would just there wouldn't be able to film any of me because it would just be constant swear. I mean, not really bad swear words, but they do slip out. So yeah, but no, it was fantastic watching you, and thank you so much for giving up your evening and chatting with us about your bag making journey, your sewing journey, and I will be watching your Instagram for
The
Beetlejuice
Beatles,
sneakers. But
yes,
I will post a link in this description to the place that I'm on about.
yes.
Because you can get the soles there, and they do the patterns, and you just download the size that you need,
Um,
and yeah, and the pattern's free as well, which is
oh, you've just
even
made
better.
me want to make a pair of
Hmm.
Beetlejuice trainers now.
I'll
Oh,
be so looking forward to seeing them. So, but no, it's been absolutely lovely chatting with you and getting to know you a little bit more. Um,
and I
so
think
next week's
it's great, by the way.
sorry.
I think your Facebook group is great. I
Oh,
love
thank you. I didn't even realise that you were in it, to be
it.
fair, because I think I follow you on Instagram mainly. I'm going to go and stalk you now. But you might find next week's episode really interesting because did you watch Make It at Market?
No, but I have heard of this program. Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. You need to go and watch it. It's so good. And the lady who's on next week is a leather worker. So she's a leathersmith and
I,
makes bags and different things out of leather. So you might find that in that episode really, really interesting. So
I,
everything's all linked in my YouTube and everything like that. So thank you to everybody who's been watching this evening. I think I've gone through all of the messages. Um, the quick message there, which is Penny, which is referring to the bag roundup that I was referring to with Emma. It's the last Thursday of every
of,
month, so you
oh,
can
thank
watch
you.
out for that too. But yeah, but I've really, really enjoyed our chat, and I will
Bye,
see everybody next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Bye.
bye everyone.